Good morning, my name is Dayang Firdaus. I am an English literature student from Winshari Federal Jakarta, and today I would like to present to you about my undergraduate thesis entitled Women Leadership Reflected in the Young Victoria Film. The interesting part about this film is that Victoria was just 18 years old and she needs to be the queen at that time because of her uncle King William IV died. Then what is the problem about it? That is because of the stereotype of the England circumstances at the time was full of patriarchy society, which means that they did not believe in the capability of women to lead. Meanwhile, their queen was just 18 years old with no single politics experiences, and they need to adapt that kind of fact. That's why I come up with the research questions. How does women leadership of Queen Victoria on the Young Victoria film depicted? Let's begin with the circumstances. Patriarchy society, women become the object of the patriarchy since 150s to the late of 170s. This conditions has just changed when the reformations happened because of the civil war. Men were doing the work. That condition was functioned very well by the women's side. That's why some of the women who understand that they need to zone their equality to say that women needs to have an equal right to have in positions of work field, they try to be a writer and they try to make a book who sound their empowerment. Some women named Margaret Cavendish, Duchess of Newcastle, and Mary Astle were writing a book to sound their empowerment to ask for women equality. Later on, they are becoming the first feminists in England. Well, have their actions been heard and have stereotype of a woman vanish? The answer is no. Even England has already grown up into a very modern country, but then the stereotypes against women as the one who is weak and as a second human after men is never been changed. The proof that when women has already earned the same right to work at the same field as a man, they still got a lot of discriminations around them. That condition is very ambivalent when Queen Victoria was becoming the Queen of England on her 18th age with no single political experience before. So when she was becoming the Queen, she was attacked by varieties of problems around her family or even her peers because they don't believe in Victoria's capability in leading. The research methodology that I used, qualitative descriptive method, in which focuses on descriptive data, written words or spoken and behavior that can be observed. There has been the previous research about this film entitled Visualizing Victoria, Genre and History in the Young Victoria by Julia Kinsler on 2009. The research focuses on the interrogations of an ambiguous depictions of gender relations in the most recent portrayal of Victoria within the Young Victoria film. It argues that the current obsessive interest in Victoria's sexuality and gender roles still seem to frame contemporary debates. The result of the analysis is that the film shows the historical biopic fictions and less factual depictions regarding the visualizations of Queen Victoria itself. Well, there are three theories that I used in my research. First theory is that character in the film. The second theory is feminism, and the third one is women leadership. So let's start from the character in the film. The theory of character, which is defined by Diani, and the theory of film, which is explained by the Joseph M. Box and Dennis Petrie. Well, the theory of character itself, it says that character is the one who makes something happen and has something happen to them in terms of film. So, in other words, a character is the agent who could make the viewers believe in the story that conveys by the film itself. The second one is the theory of feminism. I took the definitions from Goofy Well, Goofy said that feminism is a woman empowerment. Women empowerment to ask for the equality between women and men. And they believe that when women has the same right with men, they gotta make the same result of good work, or they could even do better. Called women leadership, which is the last theory that I'm going to use in this kind of research. Well, women leadership was explained by Alison Maser, Amanda Sinclair, and Karen A. Well, they argues that every time women stays in the leadership positions, they tend to be doubted by their peers, their partners, or even their colleagues. Why? Because of the stereotype that has been constructed in the society before. So, after I apply those theories in my research, these are the research findings. I divided into 3 points. The first point is historical background. The second point is the character analysis of Queen Victoria. And the third point is women leadership of Queen Victoria itself. Let's begin with the first one, the historical background. I gotta start from the first point, that is Victoria's family. To shorten this kind of presentations, I will give you the 3 families in my right side. The 3 families of Queen Victoria that is started from King George III. That is why Victoria was chosen to be the successor of the throne for the next one after the King William IV. The second point is education. Well, knowing that her daughter that's going to be the successor of England after the King William IV, Princess Victoria or the Duchess of Kent tried to educate her own daughter very strictly. Well, she ordered a lot of private teachers to come to the palace to teach her one and only daughter, that is Queen Victoria. Not only that, not only Queen Victoria got a lot of lessons, but the mother also made a new system called Kensington system. Kensington system is just basically the system that forbid Victoria to do any kind of activities that she wanted to do, such as when she wants to read a novel, she needs to take a permissions from her mother first or from her private secretary, John Conroy. The third point is married life. Well, when she was becoming the queen, her age was 18 years old. That condition makes her to be doubted by the peers, the society, and also the family. To maintain that kind of issue, Kingdom tried to make suggestions for Victoria that Victoria needs to marry as soon as possible. And from the various candidates to be her husband, she chooses her own cousin named Prince Albert from Saxe-Coburg to marry her. So they married when she was just 20 years old, and their marriage actually lasting until 20 years before the Prince Albert died caused by typhoid. The next point is about the character analysis of Queen Victoria. As the main character in the Young Victoria film, the first character that I found in her is resolute or firm determinations. As we know that Victoria has already realized that she would be the queen for the next biggest monarch on earth, that is England. She realized that she needs to be resolute or firm on whatever she decided to be or whatever she decided to choose. The second characteristic is that brave. Well, after being very firm or resolute on her decisions, Queen Victoria, also known as a very brave individual. In one of the scenes when the mother and her safety private secretary John Conroy tried to persuade or even force Victoria to sign the Regency Order. Well, Regency Order is an order to give her position as the successor for her mother because she was too young. But then Victoria replied to her mother and said to John Conroy that she is ready for the positions and she doesn't want to give her positions as the successor of England to her mother. The third character is that responsible. Well, after her marriage with the Prince Albert from Saxe-Coburg, there are a lot of difficult conditions happen between Victoria and her own husband. Because Prince Albert, who is just a husband of the Queen Victoria, he doesn't have a responsibility to take care of the country. because it is not her duty. It is Queen Victoria's duty. But then, somehow Prince Albert was forgetting his positions, and he tried to help his own wife because he thought that Victoria would be very exhausted to work alone. But then Queen Victoria said it that it all is her duty, and he doesn't need to tackle down his position because he is just her husband and not more than that. The last characteristics is loyal. Well, her marriage to Prince Albert lasting over 20 years, and the one who can separate them is the death, because Prince Albert was getting sick caused by typhoid. After the death of Prince Albert, Victoria did not remarry and stays in a very deep condolences for years. Okay, so now the last point is that women leadership of Queen Victoria. The women leadership of Queen Victoria is shown by the way she faces a lot of problems during her early reign. The first problem that she needs to face is that facing the usurper of the throne. Well, her biggest usurper of the throne is that her own family. That is her mother and her safety brother John Conroy. They have tried a lot to take her position as the successor of the throne, or even her position as the Queen of England. They tried to make her to sign the Regency Order, could take the positions of the successor of England from Queen Victoria to her mother. So the best thing that Queen Victoria needs to do is that face them and being very firm to maintain her own position as the successor of the throne. The second is that facing the pressure as the successor. Well, to be successor of the biggest monarch in the world is not easy. Meanwhile, Victoria was just a teenage young girl who did not even have a single experience in politics. She needs to be firm, and she needs to be brave to hold on her own positions as the successor. That's why the way she faced the pressure to be the successor is that to be confident of her own decisions and her own self, her own capability, that she could be the right candidate for the next Empress of England. The next problem that she needs to face as the successor and the Queen of England is that facing the untrustworthiness of the people. As I have said, becoming a woman leader is not easy. Our society has been constructed to believe that women is matched with a feminine trait, meanwhile man is matched with a masculine one. But then leadership is a work that is very suitable for the masculine one. But then Victoria, as the leader of the monarch, when she was just very young on her age, creates a lot of untrustworthiness thought within her family or even her society. Well, the fourth problem that she needs to face is that facing the difficult conditions within the household. Well, the fact that when she was becoming the queen, but then her own husband was just a prince, that is Prince Albert, is not easy. There always been a bad conditions between her and her own husband, that is Prince Albert, when they quarrel about the decisions that they should make for the kingdom. Well, Victoria's positions as a queen needs to be stated all the time in their household, because the one who actually had the privileges to reign the country, to reign England, is Victoria, is not her husband. Even her husband was a man, and the man is very suitable for the masculine trait, but then the one who holds the throne is Victoria. And the way Victoria to face that kind of problem is by stating that she is the queen and she has the full charge of her duty as the Queen of England, and nobody will tackle down her own decisions, not even her husband. So that's all the presentations about the result of my thesis. All in all, this research is aimed to see the woman leadership reflected in the young Victoria film. So I am trying to see that what is the character of Queen Victoria and the historical of Queen Victoria itself, to know that how could his leadership as a woman leader is successful and could brought England to its very prosperous and revolutionary industry. Meanwhile, she's just 19 years old with no single political experience before. That's all for me. Thanks for watching this. Please give me insight down below if you have a lot of things to comment or critics. I'm going to be open in that. And thank you very much for watching my video, and have a nice day.